Joining us with reaction, Jason Greenblatt, President Trump's former special envoy for Middle East peace. Good morning to you, sir. Here's a headline you don't often see in the Washington Post. Trump is right. The Israel-UAE agreement is a huge achievement. That's David Ignatius, something you don't often see in the mainstream media. What's your reaction, sir?
Good for David, good for the Washington Post. Part of the problem on this conflict is that people aren't willing to speak the hard truths, which President Trump did. And I give David and the Washington Post credit, as many other experts who may not like President Trump, recognizing the historic importance, the historic achievement, the emotional achievement of this amazing deal for the UAE and Israel.
I think a lot of people, Jason, don't understand the significance of it. Can you just expand on what this means, how significant it is, and why?
Well, it's incredibly significant because I hope it's going to open the doors to more deals between Israel and its Arab neighbors. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict often covers the news, and what people don't realize is there is also an Arab-Israeli conflict. The two are intricately entwined together. However, the two do not have to be solved together. And as long as the Palestinian leadership refuses to engage with Israel in good faith, and as long as they condemn a deal like this, the Palestinian people, sadly, will go nowhere. But progress can be made on the Arab-Israeli front, and that's why this deal is so incredibly exciting. And I give Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed and Bibi Netanyahu tremendous credit for their bold courage to do this deal, and of course President Trump and the team at the White House and the rest of the U.S. government for helping solidify this and seal it.
President Trump said right away he believes other Arab nations will follow. We just heard in Logan's report, Netanyahu suggests the very same thing. Who do you think will follow here?
I don't want to hazard a guess or get out ahead of them, but there are definitely a few targets who will be watching this very closely to see the reaction around the Arab world. And I think they're going to recognize not only the importance, but the strategic importance and the benefits that they could get by doing this.
And what does it mean for Iran?
I think it shows Iran that they don't have the hold over the region as they think that they do. I think that they're going to recognize that other countries are going to have to align themselves together strategically and economically, and will put up a very formidable wall against their terror and aggressive tactics to destabilize the region. I think Iran must be running very scared. Any kind of peace throughout the Middle East, whether it's just UAE and Israel or other countries, is a very scary thought to Iran.
Not everyone's celebrating this deal, needless to say. Ben Rhodes, the former Deputy National Security Advisor for President Obama, had this to say. Quote, "This agreement enshrines what has been emerging status quo in the region for a long time, including the total exclusion of Palestinians, dressed up as an election-eve achievement from two leaders who want Trump to win." What do you have to say to Ben Rhodes?
Wow. Three words, I guess. Cynic. It's so even hard to put the words together here. How sanctimonious, how arrogant. Does he live in the region? Is he an Israeli? Is he an Emirati? These two sovereign nations have decided that this is what's best for their people, and he's going to tell them that it's not a good enough deal, that they shouldn't do it. Who is he to tell them that? And not only that, but he is actually going on record as being against peace. How many people in the world are against peace? Congratulations, Ben Rhodes, for making such ludicrous comments and for thinking you know better than these two countries themselves.
Now, he was out there on an island with the criticism, no surprise there. And finally, though, Jason, we want to ask you about what happened in Lebanon. As you know, Israel had been warning about that site for years. Is there something more the U.S. could have done to prevent that horrible tragedy? And what are you learning about it?
I don't know that the U.S. could have done more, but what we're learning about is exactly the doctrine, the Trump doctrine, that he has tried to implement throughout the Middle East, and the results of which you see with the UAE and Israel peace accord. We have to call out the bad actors when we see them. We can't put our heads in the sand and pretend that Hezbollah is a political party. Of course, the U.S. doesn't do that, but other countries around the world pretend that Hezbollah, this Iran-funded terrorist organization, is a political party, which is outrageous. It is Hezbollah that is causing tremendous suffering for the Lebanese people. It is Hezbollah that is causing instability throughout the region, of course, all Iran-funded. And it's no different than Gaza, where Iran funds Hamas. Unless and until we're willing to call this out, call a spade, and uproot these terrorists out of the region, nothing meaningful can be done for the Lebanese people, or for that matter, the Palestinians suffering in Gaza. So it's time for the world to recognize the bad actors and favor and help all the good actors.
Indeed. Jason Greenblatt, good to see you, sir. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good
You got
weekend.
it.